we are going to be talking backyard chickens today. So chickens are they're kind of like the entryway animal for homesteads, right? So do you guys have chickens already? That's what we need to know first. If you have a chicken or chickens, drop a heart and let's see how many of you have chickens already. And in the meantime, if you don't have chickens yet, tell me when you think you're gonna get chickens. You can leave that in the comments. I'm seeing some hearts. So we got some chicken parents in the house. All right, not yet for some. All right, so I want to tell you a quick story before we jump in. So it's been, let me think here. It was before we moved to our homestead. The last house we lived in, we were in a neighborhood. There was an HOA. We didn't have a whole lot of wiggle room with what we could do, which is ultimately why we moved. But while we were there, my kids wanted chickens so bad. They had a friend who had gotten chickens and they had visited, and they got on this obsession with getting chickens. And so they actually, we're homeschool family. I'll tell you that up front. So this is typical, but they actually worked together and they wrote a 3-page paper. At the time, they were probably like 9 and 11. And they wrote a whole report about why our family needed chickens. And y'all, they did a solid job. I tried to find it. I wanted to share it with you today because it was funny, but I couldn't find it. But like they explained in their own childlike way the benefits, and it made a lot of sense. But unfortunately, the neighborhood we lived in at the time, we just couldn't get them, so it was still a no. But we eventually, not long after that, moved here, and getting chickens was one of the very first things we did. It was so much fun to bring home. Our first round came from Tractor Supply, and we went in and we brought home, I think we brought home seven or eight the first year, and we had one chick to pass away. That's really common when you bring home new chicks. You can kind of almost plan and expect to lose at least one. It just tends to happen, but we only lost one, and they're all still up here in the chicken coop back behind me. And then we, since then, continue to add chicks. It's kind of become an obsession. And if you've been following along, you probably know we even hatched our own chicks. About a week ago they hatched, and so we've got those babies in the brooder now, and we're about to hatch a whole other round in the incubator. I've become chick obsessed. We're probably going to start selling chicks here in the community, and just kind of add that as another layer of income for our farm. We're thinking about it. We're going to kind of experiment and see how that goes. And so if you're local to me and you need some chicks, send me a message. I might be able to help you out here in about a month. Okay, so let me see if Hafsa is here. I'm going to bring her on. Here she is. So, has a book and a course about backyard chickens.
Hey.
Here she is. Hey, friend, how are you?
Great, how are you? I have something to show you here.
Let me see. Ah, you got babies.
Yeah. We actually breed them throughout the year.
I love that. We're just learning.
I hope they're not going to be too loud in the background.
They're so cute. So how many do you have right now?
I don't know exactly.
Okay.
I think almost 30 in here.
Wow.
These are all like, some of them are mixed breeds. Some of them are the black Ayam Sabanis, the rare ones. This one I think is a mixed breed.
Oh.
But whenever you walk in, they always run into a corner because they're like, yeah.
Yeah, my little chicks, they're about a week old, and the first few days, like they didn't mind being held, and you know, they were real friendly, but they're hitting that.
Trying to get my tripod set up.
So, all right. So first of all, just introduce yourself and tell us a little bit about how you became chicken obsessed and how this all started.
Yeah. So you're gonna hear a lot of roosters around. So it's like mute me because they're obviously a lot louder than me. So I'm Hafsa at Homestead Hafsa. My entire page is about raising chickens. And I have always been animal obsessed. I did not grow up on a farm though. I grew up outside of Manhattan, New York City. I grew up 5 minutes outside of New York City. I was a city girl growing up, but I was always a farm girl at heart. And I started homesteading when I was young, but I didn't realize it was homesteading because I'm Indian and culturally we do a lot of things from scratch.
Yeah.
I learned how to garden as a kid from my mom, from my grandmother. We used to ferment things. We used to make breads from scratch. So like, I don't know, it just was always like natural, like second nature to me. And I always knew that one day we would leave the New York City area, that we would live somewhere in a rural area, have a backyard farm, backyard homestead. And we kind of did like the extreme though. We were we were in the New York City area forever. And then about 5 years ago, we decided to move off grid. And we left that area. We went to rural Virginia, near where we are now. We lived off grid first for a few years. And I've always loved chickens, I think, the most because they're just really easy to take care of. There's a lot of breeds. There's hundreds of breeds, a lot of varieties to choose from. And they're really fun. And for most people, they're the best animal to get started with because they don't take that much space. They're very low maintenance, very low cost compared to other animals. And in a way, they're also kind of great practice for homesteading animals because if you can take care of chickens, then you can learn to take care of other animals as well, as long as you have the space for it.
Yeah, they're like an entryway to kind of get you used to the routine of daily animal chores. And it's a way you can kind of start to get your kids involved on the farm and give them a job to do. And that's my son is 15 and the chickens are kind of his thing. Like, he loves the chickens. He feeds them every day. And that is really his favorite part of all of this. And it's funny because they know him and they like him better than us because he's the food man. And so they all run to him.
That's hilarious. For those that missed the chicks, I'll go back really quick so you can see them. So this actually is a room within like a 4-unit coop, kind of. It's like a shed building that's divided up. So I'll show you around a little bit. I'm gonna try to set up here. So this is a fairly large brooder for anyone just getting started with chicks. This is a 6-foot long brooder. Do you want me to get into some educational content here?
Yeah, absolutely. I'd love for you to kind of share what beginners need to know. I ask at the beginning, and there's quite a few watching that want to get chicks this summer and they just don't have them yet. So maybe talk a little bit about what we can expect and what you need to get started, what kind of emergencies to be prepared for, that kind of stuff.
Well, before going into all that, for anyone that is just getting started, like they're like, I want to get chickens. The first thing is to decide why you want to get chickens because it's going to make a difference in the breeds you choose, in how many you get, right, in your setup. So if you want to raise chickens primarily for eggs, then you definitely want to get chickens that are egg layers and not primarily for meat. And if you want to raise for both, then you can raise chickens that are dual purpose. And if you do want to raise for eggs, chickens don't all lay an egg a day.
I had no idea of that when I
maybe
started.
every other day. Not every day. Some of them lay as few as 100 eggs a year. Like the chicks that I have in this brooder here, these all black ones, these are really rare ones. They're called Samanis. They only lay less than 100 eggs a year, which is nothing. And they're really
that's
well too. Versus other breeds that lay up to 350 eggs a year. So if you're the kind of household where you go through a lot of eggs, you want to choose breeds that are high egg layers or these kind of medium range, I would say 200 to 250, because you can also have more variety in egg type. Like you can get green eggs and blue eggs and pink eggs, but those are not the high egg layers.
No.
Those are like 200, 250. And then you have a lot of variety in obviously how they look and their personality. Most chickens are friendly. It's really rare that you don't have friendly chickens, especially when they see you again and again, and you're bringing the food and you're bringing the treats. They're like, oh, we get food now, and they come running to you, you know?
Yes.
Yeah, our chickens are so friendly because I just spoiled. So now we have a lot. So about 1.5 years ago, we left our off-grid property and we moved to an existing chicken farm. And we fluctuate with how many chickens we have. We have anywhere from 100 to 400 chickens at a time. In the spring and the summer, naturally, is a lot more. And we breed and sell them. My primary flock is around 100 of like my own that are not going to be sold. They're a variety of breeds. Some of them I also breed as well, but like the adults I'm keeping. Like nobody's taking them because they're my babies.
You get attached.
But I mean, we built up to this point. You know, we started with 5 chickens. I didn't start with 100. I started with 5. And even before that, I was lucky enough, like light on my face. I was lucky enough that in college, I actually got to work on a farm with over 1,000 animals. And that was 15 years ago to date myself. But I took care of horses, cows, chickens, goats, sheep, everything. And it was a really great experience because that hands-on experience, you can't like duplicate that elsewhere, right? You can't read that. You can't just learn that from a book. You have to do it to get that experience. So,
Absolutely.
yeah, so I have a couple bullet points that I will share with you guys of some things to cover. So the first one is already mentioned with knowing why you want to get chickens. So let's say, for example, you want to get a decent number of eggs a year, some great breeds. Like you can get a variety of breeds, by the way. You don't have to just get one type of breed. It's actually better to get different breeds because it's more fun and you can tell them apart. Because if they're all this, it's really hard to tell them apart, right? So some of my favorite breeds that people could get started with are Barred Rocks, Rhode Island Reds, Astalorps. Leghorns are great for egg laying, but Leghorns are the one breed that they don't like to be touched usually. They usually, for most people, they're not like the lap chickens. They're like, you know, get away from me. They're running away. What else? Easter eggers, Americanas. Easter eggers are really cute. They have like these puffy cheeks and they lay blue or green eggs. Same with Americanas. What else? Looking here. Orpington. Sorry?
Do you have any golden comet? I'm curious. We have some of that.
You know what? Let me actually take you guys outside. I'm going to take you guys, I guess, on a little tour. It's really nothing fancy. It's just like a bunch of pens everywhere. So I'll give you like I actually maybe have done this on my page. So this is, you can't really see it from here. I guess I'll step outside. So I'm going to show you the building. Ooh. So this building has like 4 units there. And then there's 4 different pens here. So these are the IAMs. Here I have some Wyandottes. Back there is the one that you see in all my videos. That's my like pretty coop.
It's so cute.
It's the Insta coop. And then back there I have a coop that we built. So in this unit there's like 4 different little sections which can all be closed off, which is good. So like this one, for example, once the chicks start jumping out, we'll just take everything out and give them the whole room.
That's awesome.
I gotta go outside. Actually, while I'm here, for anyone that does want to hatch chicks, so these are the IAMs. I've got 3 hens sitting on eggs. Don't touch me, she says.
So, for those who are new to chicks, this is called being broody, right? When they sit on their eggs.
She's like, don't come. So look. She's actually sitting on a bunch of different eggs.
Wow.
They've all got like 20 eggs underneath them. Okay, so those are the mamas. That's how you naturally hatch chicks. I recommend, if you can, always naturally hatch chicks versus an incubator. You usually have far better results with naturally hatching chicks. And when you naturally hatch, the mother hens usually, not always, they usually do a lot of the work in taking care of their babies. Like you don't have to babysit them.
Yeah.
So I don't know where they've run off to, but there's a bunch of golden comets roaming around here. Those golden ones, golden brown ones. I don't know if you can see it in the view.
We have, I think, 6 comets, and they are my sweetest. They're just such a good personality.
These guys are great. They're really great egg layers. They're super friendly. They're one of the best breeds to start with. We started with Rhode Island Reds. I love them too. And Rhode Island Reds are really friendly as well. The only thing with getting chickens that lay a lot of eggs is that unfortunately they don't lay for that many years.
Yeah.
Their lifespan is very short for egg laying, versus other breeds that lay 200 to 250 eggs a year. Now, I know I'm like generalizing here, but in general, they typically lay for more years, and in some cases, they also live longer.
That's interesting.
Because they're not producing so much.
Huh. So our comets are about to be 3 years old, and I thought for sure they were done laying when they quit winter. They've started again,
Here.
so I'm excited they're still going for a little while at least.
That's the building. It's got 4 units. I mean, this is for like when you have a lot of chickens.
Yeah.
And you need different friends, and this is the one that you see in all my. These are the pets. I've got all like I don't even know, 2-3 dozen different breeds back here.
Oh, they're so fun. I love how you've got such a mix of different.
They're like, oh, you know what? I have actually treats for them. I forgot I had brought treats out. So one of the ways that you can easily lure chickens is treats. I have a couple different things. These are actually really healthy snacks from a company called Strong Animals. But you see how like they're all just waiting.
Get ready.
When people say like, I think I'm gonna have a hard time raising chickens, or how do I get them to come to me? I'm like, just feed them.
Yeah. They are kind of like they may just need food, water, and shelter.
Yeah. So I saw a question about roosters. So yes, if you want to breed them, then yes, you need a rooster. But one of the common myths about chickens is that you need a rooster in order for them to lay eggs.
Mm-hmm.
You don't need a rooster for them to lay eggs.
Right.
They will lay eggs without ever having to mate. If you want to fertilize the eggs, then yeah.
Yeah.
We're just having a ball.
For those
Some of the ones are back there.
The ones in the neighborhood who might be bringing home, 5, 6 chickens just for eggs, you don't have to have a rooster. That's really good information, because the roosters can be noisy. We started with just hens for eggs, and then we kind of decided, well, let's have some roosters and just see how that goes. And so now we love our roosters, but they are very noisy.
Well, I love roosters. In fact, I have an addiction to roosters. It's really bad because the more roosters you have, the more hens you need to have.
Mm-hmm.
Because the roosters will mate up to 30 times a day. A single rooster will mate up to 30 times a day with the hens.
Yeah.
So, yeah, for anybody that is like, I want a bunch of roosters, or you end up with a bunch of roosters, it's good to have minimum, I would say, 5 hens to a rooster. Some roosters are more, what is the word that I use? Active.
Yeah.
than other roosters, and in that case, that's why you want to have more than enough hens, so they're not. They literally jump on top of them, and sometimes they pull the hen's feathers out. In fact, I did a video on that went viral, and it was just hilarious because I'm like, "Do you have a really active rooster?"
It can happen.
No, it's hilarious. I'll cover some points that I had written out for you before this live here. So I already covered why you want to get chickens, and being able to determine the number of chickens and the breeds that you go with. And also with the number of chickens, I've had some people ask me, well, I only want to start with a few chickens, like 2 to 3. My recommendation is start with at least 5, especially if you're getting baby chicks, because as you said when you started this live, that sometimes 1 or 2 chicks might die from natural causes, and it's really like outside of your control. There's really nothing you can do sometimes. Sometimes it's just a weak chick to begin with, or nature, or down the road a predator got to them, even when you're doing the best that you can to keep everything secure as possible. So I would start with at least 5, and then also if you have cold winters, and when I say cold winters, I mean, not like 50 degrees.
Yeah.
I mean below 30, like, 10, 20, 30 degrees. when you have more chickens in your coop, they huddle together and they keep each other warm. And you want to fill that space with the chickens so that they can keep each other warm, because they're actually natural heaters for each other. And in most cases, you don't even need to heat your coop. So if you can get more chicks, this is what it's like to record reels, by the way, when I'm talking. I have to wait for them to stop crowing. So what I was saying is it's always best to get a few more if you can, just to be safe and so that they can keep each other warm. And when you do get your chickens, also on the other extreme, don't get more than you can handle, or that you have the space for, or that you have the budget for. Because chickens cost money. There's feed costs, there's supply costs, there's other, additives that you can get, health supplies, all those things. And I would say if you want to just start easy, start with 5 to 10 if you can handle that, and make sure that if you're starting with chicks, that you do have some area set up outside for them, at least like 4 weeks after. Because in some areas, it's warm enough to move them outdoors. In some areas, you might be waiting 8 weeks to move them outside, depending on what time of the year you're getting them. And majority of breeds can handle both hot and cold weather. However, in extreme heat and extreme cold, you need to set up your coop the right way. You need to have certain supplies out for them to take care of them. And they'll be just fine. As long as you're there to kind of help them. Yeah. They'll be just fine. And one of the other questions that I get a lot is, should I start with chicks or should I start with laying hens? There's pros and cons to both. It really depends on what you want, your setup. I'm trying to do it, but I can't be out here. So with starting with chicks, the nice thing is you get to see them grow. If you have kids, your kids will see that too. And it's really fun, especially, even for adults. We're just like, oh my God, they're so cute, right?
Yeah.
So it's nice to see them grow. It's nice to kind of be with them from day one. The con of starting with chicks is you will wait several months for eggs. So certain breeds like Golden Comet start laying really early, around 5 months. Mm-hmm. But a lot of breeds start anywhere between 6 to 8 months. So few breeds even as far as 9 months. I think some Brahmas and Orpingtons, they're late as 9 months. So in some cases, you might be waiting a really long time to get eggs. What you can do, which is what we've done, is you can also start with chickens that are laying age, or pullets that are about to start laying. Usually, for most people who are selling pullets, they're usually around 5 months old, like for laying birds. You can start with birds that are about to start laying, or they're already laying, maybe they're even a year old. And then a few months later, you can also go back and get chicks just to experience. And that way you kind of have 2 sets of chickens. So while one set of chicken is laying, the others are growing. And then in the winter, in most winters, your ones that are already laying are going to slow down.
Yeah.
The ones that you already started raising as chicks at the same time, while the older ones are kind of on break, your younger ones will still lay through the winter. So if you have the space for it, if you have the time, the budget for all that, then that's a great way to do it. I think for most people, they can handle, let's say, 5 laying hens and then 5 to 8 baby chicks at the same time. And then what are some other things? With laying hens, if you do start with laying hens, like they've already been laying for over a year, every winter they will go on break.
Yeah.
From the time that you get them. So chickens need sunlight, a certain amount of sunlight, to be able to lay eggs in their normal frequency, whether that's every day or every other day. But in the winter, nature gives them a break. Now, some people teach that if you want to keep getting eggs through the winter, you can add a light inside of their chicken coop, their chicken area at night, because if you add a light, in a way, it's kind of tricking them. They're getting daylight, and then it forces them to continue laying. I'm not a believer in that personally. Even though we breed and sell chickens and sell eggs, I'm like, I'd rather them just be on their natural course. Yeah. But if you choose to, that is an option. Another way to do it, which I do not really for eggs, but just to take care of our chickens in the winter, is I feed them a lot of meat treats in the winter, things like canned tuna in water, nothing added to it, that they absolutely love. And when you give them additional protein in the winter, it actually helps them to also lay eggs through the winter. But again, I just do that because in the winter they're not able to naturally forage. They're not able to naturally as much, for most areas, get bugs from the ground because there's snow on the ground.
Yeah.
They'll love you for it as well. So if there's any other questions that you'd like me to answer, I can go ahead and do that. I know there's probably a bunch of questions that popped up as I was talking.
Yeah, I've been kind of watching. So one thing that I've seen a couple of times is, like, if people bring home, let's say they get some hens, so they get the egg production started, and then they bring home some baby chicks to raise. What do they do when it comes time to integrate the chicks in with the rest of the adult flock? How do you do that safely so that the chicks will be okay?
So there is a process to it, and it's not a cookie cutter perfect process. It's going to be different for everyone's setup. I would wait for any integration, whether you're integrating chicks or like pullets that are a little bit older, usually what I refer to as pullets, or even older chickens. Wait until they're a little bit close in size to start introducing them to each other. Another really important way to do it, I don't have them out here. I didn't have a chance to bring them out here, but this coop here, you see, it's a tiny little coop that we have for our bantam chickens, which are miniature chickens. Right now, I have a set of chickens in our house, our baby chicks, that are about 5 weeks old. And during the day, I bring them out here and I leave them locked in here. But they can see the older chickens through the fence. They need to be able to see each other through the fence. And they need to be able to see each other at least for a few weeks before you just open up that door and let them roam freely. If you just, like, let's just say, like, these guys are bantams, they're super tiny, but let's just say these were baby chicks, right? These are, like, the cutest little guys. Let's just say they were baby chicks. If I just toss them in here with our older chickens in the same area, the older chickens would go and attack the little ones.
Yeah.
And if there's an introduction phase, like, let's just say that was a younger chick, they get to know each other a lot better through that fence, and then they become more comfortable once they are in the same area without that fence divider. So step one, if you can, wait until they're a little bit bigger in size to introduce them. For ours, like the ones that we're raising inside right now, I have Brahmas and Astrolorps, which grow really fast because they're much bigger breeds. So they're already the same size almost as some of the bantams.
Wow.
So it's fine to have them out here. And even after that phase, even after, let's say you have them seeing each other through that fence for a few weeks, once you open that door and you let them roam freely in the same area, they will still get chased. They will get pecked, right? That's the pecking order. They will get bullied. Chickens are the worst bullies.
It's hard to watch.
And your high school bully. Like, way worse. They're dinosaurs. So it's okay. It is nature. And even when you have chicks or chickens that you raise together from the same age, they will always peck each other at some point because there's always somebody above somebody else in a way in the hierarchy. And their way is literally to just like kind of tap them on the head and peck, especially when they're on the roosting bar in the coop, they'll peck each other and you're just like, what's wrong with you? You're so mean. In most cases, it's perfectly normal. In some cases, you do have to, if you do ever have one chick or chicken that's really aggressive, you have to remove them for a few days and kind of put them in timeout and then bring them back. Mm-hmm. There are unfortunate situations too with this. So even for us, like one of our chicks, we had a set of chicks a few years ago that were around 6 weeks old, and they were in like a coop run area together outside. It was something that we built. Actually, I'll show it to you. And unfortunately, I came out one morning and I found one of them dead, and it was just horrifying. So I'm like, and I opened the thing and I'm like, did something get in here? This is the thing I'm talking about. It's like our kind of coop run in one.
Yeah.
I use it for our chicks when we're transitioning them to the outside. Right now I have these guys in there. But I opened the door and I looked down and there's a dead chick, and it's going to sound horrible. but its neck had been ripped out.
Mm.
For whatever reason, it got into a fight with another chick because I saw the other chick had a bloody eye. They got into some kind of fight, and the one that died, you know, had its neck pecked out, which isn't normal. They usually like peck on the head, and it, you know, bad enough that it killed it. So those situations happen too, and again, not much you can do about it.
Yeah.
You can,
Farm life.
that's what you can do is just be prepared and know that you're dealing with animals. They're very different from cats and dogs, and they have their own hierarchy. So I saw a couple questions like how to keep them healthy. There's a lot of things to do to keep them healthy. Some bigger ones when they're baby chicks, you know, some basic things is, you know, keep their brooder as clean as possible, keep their bedding clean as possible, their water, their feed. Don't let the poop build up too much because the poop buildup will make them sick. Chickens sometimes peck at their poop, whether they're baby chicks or adult chickens outside. And when they peck at their poop, they ingest a parasite and they can get coccidiosis from it, which in a lot of cases can kill them. That's why you want to keep the area clean as possible. If you do start with baby chicks, there is more work involved. That's one of the cons with chicks is there's more like daily like check-in where you are going to check on their water, their feed, their bedding, probably at least twice a day. And the other one is pasty butt. That's when they poop, they have poop literally dried on their butt, which is called their vent, and it dries and it causes blockage. And if it's not cleaned off within 24 hours, it can kill them. So that's another reason why checking on your chicks is important, because you want to make sure they don't have that as well. Outside of that, chicks are fairly simple to take care of, you know, as long as you also have things like electrolytes and probiotics for them when you bring them home, not just plain water. Also give them a separate container of electrolytes and probiotics. Another couple things I've seen also, some mistakes that people have made with chicks is sometimes if you cover the brooder box, which is the container you saw right in that little building, if you completely cover it and it's not a mesh lid, like air can't easily flow out, and you have a heater in there too, like a heat lamp or a radiant heat plate, sometimes it can get way too hot in there and dry out and kill the chicks. So they need air. If you need to put a lid on top of it, a mesh lid, one that still has airflow, like easy airflow, right? But you don't want it to be a space where it's just like a heat box. There should be some area of the brooder where they don't have heat. So if they get too warm under the heat lamp or the radiant heat plate, they can run away. I guess
What about feed?
There's a lot to talk about for outside.
Yeah, it's a lot to keep up with. I think I've seen several people ask, what are your thoughts on feed? Grow your own, buy it, medicated or not medicated? What are your thoughts?
I saw that. So I actually work with a major feed company also, and I absolutely one of the things that I recommend, well, first of all, if you're getting chicks that are vaccinated, do not give them medicated feed. Vaccinated chicks do not need medicated feed. And that's only if you're ordering from a hatchery usually, and you told them, hey, I want to vaccinate my chicks against like coccidiosis, for example. If you're getting it from a Tractor Supply, a Rural King, a local farm, or even some hatcheries, like they're usually not vaccinated. It's then your choice to use medicated or non-medicated. One of the myths with medicated is that if I give my baby chicks medicated feed, they're going to be healthy. They're not going to get sick. And that's just not the case. The only thing medicated feed does, it has amprolium in it, which helps them to not get coccidiosis, or if they do get it, to basically help them through that, for pecking their own poop. That's really the only thing it helps them with, at least here in the US. In other countries like in England and parts of Europe, they have vaccinations for chickens for other things, but here in the US, they don't. So that's the only thing, though, that the medicated feed will help them with. And the feed that we use for our flock is Nutrina feed. They have chick starter feed. They have layer feed. If you're starting with chicks, make sure you always get the one that says chick starter feed. I had somebody ask me, can I give my baby chicks the layer feed because it's in the same form. It's like the crumble form. I don't have any here because I don't use crumble out here with the chickens. But if you're getting chicks, they need chick starter grower feed. And then usually for most feeds, once they're between 16 to 18 weeks old, you can transition them to the adult feed or the layer feed, and you can choose between crumble form or pellet. And then for those who have chickens already, one of the great things that I like to use in the winter is feather fixer, because in the winter chickens lose their feathers.
Yeah.
And sometimes it's really drastic. So the only one that I've seen that has it is Neutrina feather fixer. It helps them to grow back their feathers faster and they come back really beautiful. And actually in March, in about a month, a little over a month from now, I have a really big giveaway coming up for feed. So make sure you're following me. It's like a massive giveaway for feed. And it's gonna save you a boatload of money on feed.
That's
so
awesome.
Make sure you're following me for that.
Yes, everybody go follow. And I'll say, you post the best, like, practical chicken advice. I learn stuff from you all the time. I love following you. Anybody who's thinking about chickens, you definitely want to keep up with what she's posting. It's gonna definitely give you the education and the encouragement just to navigate things that pop up like pasty butt. Yeah. What about this? How about tell us about your book or your course that's in the bundle? Because so if you're just tuning in, we launched a brand new Homestead bundle, and it's got 70 brand new resources in it, including some information about chickens. So tell us what you've included.
Yeah. So I have 2 resources in there on chickens. I have my ebook and a part of my course, an introduction to my course, Excited for Chickens. The ebook by itself is really comprehensive, and you can actually click on the links for every single thing that I reference throughout the book. It covers pretty much every stage of raising chickens, from baby chicks, how much is it going to cost to get started, more of a deep dive on breeds, on egg laying, on what you need to get set up, what you need to keep them healthy, on feed types, transitioning them to the outdoors, integrating them with an existing flock. Gosh, there's just so much in there. Once they are outside, how to take care of them in every season, different parts of egg laying. Like there's, I think, a few different chapters just on eggs and egg laying alone. Like somebody asked the question here about fertilized eggs. You can absolutely eat fertilized eggs. The majority of our eggs are probably fertilized because I have more roosters than I can count. They're more fertilized, and it's perfectly normal and natural to eat fertilized eggs. What else in there? How to raise chicks naturally. So as you saw in like the shed coop over there with the black mama hens, how to properly do that, because for some people, in some cases, like it's not just super simple to just let a hen do her own thing. You have to have the proper setup for it, right? And make sure that they stay safe. One of the things, like a mistake that people make, for example, with baby chicks when they're hatched naturally with the mother hen, is allowing them to just stay in the flock with everybody else. Because in a lot of cases, what will happen is the other chickens will try to attack the little babies. Yeah. And then mama will go and attack them, and it's chaos. Yeah. I've had hens go after, like some broody mama hens go after other hens and even roosters and like pluck their feathers out. Like they get violent. So things like keeping them separate, there's a certain way that you want to set it up so that they stay safe, and you can let them do their own thing once they have their own area to do it. And then the course, naturally, it goes into it with video content so that you can see the process. And that's part of the bundle. You can grab it now through the next week.
If you want to get that book, so you get that chicken guide, plus there's 120 different books and courses included, and they're all related to homesteading, gardening, herbs, chickens. There's stuff on goats and dairy cows. I mean, it's a lot of information, but it's worth it just for your book. If somebody's thinking about, getting chickens, it's not really worth it just to get hosses. But of and start learning from her, because I've been watching, like, as you're teaching, and I'm watching all the questions coming across, and I literally have not seen a single question that you don't answer in your course. It is so thorough and comprehensive. I did it last year, I think, and it was really, really helpful for us. So
thank you. Yeah, I mean, the book by itself is 42 chapters.
yeah, it's a lot of information, but like if something pops up later too, like I've pulled it out, because if I see something with my chickens and I'm just not sure about it, like I just pull that back out and I look it up, and it's a huge help. I mean, it's always good to have those resources on hand when something does pop up. So,
Yeah.
so
I saw a lot of awesome questions here as well. Pretty much I was scrolling through to check all the questions. Pretty much every single question that was asked here is answered in that resource. And that's actually how I created it, because when I wrote that ebook, I wrote it back 2 years ago. I had already been on Instagram for 6 months, and I was getting hundreds of questions, and I literally compiled every single question that I ever got in my messages and my comments, and I put it into this resource so that people have it all in one place. And one of the questions about health, one section, I think there's like 4 or 5 chapters are just on chicken health, and on the back of the book there's also two to 3 pages of chicken health supplies, so that you know what you need for every situation. Some things you definitely want to have when you get started, like right away. You don't wait to get those things. And then other things you can add over time. But it's good to have it so that you're not like Google researching, oh my God, my chicken has bumblefoot. What do I do?
and
Or whatever.
that's risky, because you might get bad advice. Like if you're just Googling, there's a lot of information out there that's really not solid, and you can make it worse. So I always tell people, like, instead of Googling things related to animals or your garden, like really find people who can mentor you in this, and who you can message, or somebody that can kind of coach you along, just so you know you're getting solid information from somebody that's actually done it. And it's not, just an article written by somebody who maybe never even held a chicken.
Yeah, no, I've definitely become obsessed. Obviously, we moved here primarily for this chicken farm.
I love
I have
that.
access to all these guys are dust bathing behind me. I don't know if you can see it in the camera.
Yeah.
Yeah, my husband thought I was crazy at first, by the way, but now he loves them, so it's cool.
Oh, I love that. Well, I really appreciate you sharing today and giving us like a little tour, telling us about your guide. I feel completely confident that anybody who comes to Homestead Education Week and wants to know chickens is going to get everything they need in your guide. Of all the topics that, as I was planning this week, when I hit chickens, I was like, that one's a no-brainer. Haas has got this covered. Everything I need to know about chickens, I learned from her. So I'm really excited to have you be part of this. And if anybody wants to grab the chicken guide, or in the bundle and all the books included, you can message either one of us, send either one of us a DM, and we'll be happy to send you the link. It's also in my bio. And we're tickled to death for you to have these books and courses. And if you buy it, please message us and like give us some feedback. Tell us what you think, because we've put a ton of work into this, and it really encourages us as writers and homesteaders, when we're putting this out there, to see that it's helpful to you. So we appreciate you guys. Any final thoughts you want to share?
No, I think we covered. I think everything. Everything that they needed to know. You can message either one of us. I don't know if you have a keyword for that, but you can just message me. Hey, I want to get the guide or the bundle. You can send me a DM, and I will send you the link to that. And thank you so much, Amber, for inviting me to be part of this live workshop with you today.
Yeah, thank you so much. And we will repost this if you guys need to rewatch it to kind of soak all that information. And again, I'm going to post it here in a second so people can refer back to it and save it. And yeah, this has been fun. Thanks for hanging out with us.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye, guys. collection of 120 different books and courses and webinars that are all related to homestead living. We contributed that garden course, our brand new, just released today. It's called Grow Food. It's a 260 some page guidebook with printables, plus there are 15 video lessons kind of like this where we just sit and chat and I show you how I do things. And Josh has made some videos, my husband, and he's going to teach you how to do some things. So you'll be able to literally watch those videos as often as you need to be able to learn to garden. And I'm excited. I think it'll be helpful. As far as these workshops, lots of people asking, will you be able to rewatch this later? Yes. So as soon as this ends, I'm going to post this to my page. And every workshop this week will work the same way. As soon as the live ends, we're going to post it to the page. And I've asked the other teachers who are hosting to add me as a collaborator, so their workshops will also go on my page. So you should be able to just see a whole bunch of really cool content this week if you just go to our main page on Instagram. I'm also going to be sharing a lot of new content as far as just some posts and videos with some tips that I think you'll find helpful this year. So it's going to be a fun week, y'all. We're just getting started. I can't even believe, I feel like we've been talking about Homestead Education Week and planning for this for so long, and I can't believe we're here and it's happening. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for being my garden friend. Thank you for your support in buying our course. Like, you are literally paying my bills, and I appreciate it. It allows me to be home and make these videos and be your garden teacher. Oh, thank you, Honeycomb Aesthetics, bought a badge. Thank you. So anyway, I appreciate you. Stay tuned. More workshops are coming soon, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.